Greetings from parts unknown. My name is Kervin, aka KD Swagger, the co-founder of Yep, I Like Wrestling. And today I am joined by
the greatest general manager in Yep, I Like Wrestling history.
And I'm also joined by
the Dominican Diablo, Rade Ravello.
And last, I'm also joined by
the Wolf of Wrestling, Aramis LaPaz.
And this is our Dominican Takeover episode, episode 34.
Voy a cantar esta canción con mucho cariño de mi corazón a la República Dominicana, la casa del merengue y la casa de la bachata.
We have no socks on, just to honor today.
Oh, actually, Don Johnson. That's Don Johnson's fault.
Yeah.
He's the first one, and every Dominican wanted to be like that.
Yeah, Miami Vice.
Miami Vice kid.
You can't beat that dude. That dude was smooth.
Yeah.
Now, Teddy, we did a background check on you. And earlier today, I had paperwork faxed to me. And it says that you are a quarter Dominican.
Oh, so that's why I'm here. Okay, I was wondering. All right, well, good to meet you, fellas. Good to meet you all.
Yeah, glad to be here.
It's the first Dominican with an English accent.
I know, right? My grandmother's going to be so proud. All right, fellas, so what are we going to talk about today?
We're going to talk about Dominicans in wrestling and Dominican fans in wrestling, but we're also going to talk about legendary action wrestling, which two of the wrestlers on that for that company is with us today, and that's Rade Ravello and Aramis LaPaz. So, guys, talk to me about legendary action wrestling, and when is your next show?
What's the date? The 25th? We're gonna
August 25th. It's a Saturday, yes.
August 25th, and it's where?
It's going to be in Bushwick, Brooklyn.
Bushwick, Brooklyn, that is. And right now in front of me, I have the information. It's at Mayday Community Center on 176 St. Nicholas Avenue in Brooklyn, New York. Zip code 11237. General admission is $20. And you can also get your tickets at tickery.com. Legendary Action Wrestling, and also has fellow Dominican wrestlers, Merengue Warrior, Cha-Cha Charlie, and many others. It also has Eric Jaden, Dante Jace, Joey Romero, also Frankie Flo and Zombie Flo. Zombie King, that is, a.k.a. Junior Flo. Now, guys, there's not too many Dominicans in wrestling. Would you say there isn't, or, you know, what are your thoughts on that?
I don't know. I mean, I guess it's just about the amount of Dominicans that are in New York. I mean, Dominicans started coming into New York late 70s. So, like, we're turning 40, like the first generation, you know, the first American born. So, I mean, there's other people that have been here longer, Italian, Irish, whatnot, and those people, you know, they were here watching Bruno Sammartino and Pedro Morales, Tito Santana. So, you know, we're coming up slowly but surely.
But that generation saw Jack Veneno in, like, Dominican Republic.
But that's Dominican Republic. We're talking about New York City.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
A lot of people, you know. So that's a different country. That's a different generation. That's my father's generation.
Yeah, that's
wrestling.
true.
So everybody here, that's not our generation, and we never knew about this guy till like later on.
I would have to say, as far as New York City, I mean, you probably have a big I don't want to say community of Dominican wrestlers, but if you go to every promotion, because New York City has a lot of wrestling promotions. If you ask around how many Dominicans are in each promotion, you're probably going to get anywhere between 5 and 10. But it's hard to pinpoint because not everybody is going around waving the Dominican flag. You know, as opposed to us, you know, that's what we pride ourselves in legendary action wrestling with the plantain players. Like, we're letting it be known, yes, we are a group of Dominican wrestlers, you know, first generation Dominican American wrestlers. A lot of people don't know that. But then again, how are they going to know if no one's actually waving the flag and saying, hey, I'm Dominican? So when we wrestle with other promotions and other company, we might be wrestling with a Dominican and we won't know unless we hear their slang, you know, because Dominican, just like Puerto Ricans, Cubans, or Latinos, they have a slang, you know, a way of talking. And then that's how we'll be able to recognize one another. But as far as to pinpoint how many Dominicans are in wrestling, it's almost impossible to know. But we do know that there are. Because obviously there's, 6 or 7 of us in Legendary Action Wrestling?
I thought I was the only one when I first started. I thought I was the only one. I didn't know any. And then started working with ECPW in Jersey. And then I met Merengue there. And then I met Aramis there. And I was, oh, shit, 3.
I mean, you have others. You have Marty Bell.
Yeah, I met her in Ace.
You know what I'm saying? You also have one of Teddy's favorites, which is No Way Jose. You know,
we don't know him. I mean, we know him because we see him on TV, but we don't know him. We know.
Yeah, we never wrestled.
I mean,
with him.
I met
exactly.
him. I met him at last year SummerSlam at the NXT show. I introduced myself to him. He's freaking huge. He's a big guy.
Yeah, I mean, he's part of, I think him being in WWE, whether it's a short period of time or long period of time, it might help bring the awareness of Dominican wrestlers as wrestling in Dominican Republic.
Do they say he's from Dominican Republic?
Yeah. He hails from Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic.
Oh, that's nice.
And hopefully,
I don't watch anymore, so I don't.
Hopefully that creates a lane where wrestling might become popular again in the Dominican Republic like it was at one point in the 70s when Jack Veneno was around. When Jack Veneno faced Ric Flair in 1982.
Because it's McMahon killed it. Cable killed it. When once cable became worldwide, you could watch WWF wrestling over there. That's what killed Dominican wrestling, was the WWF. They didn't want to see those guys anymore. That's what my dad told me. He said they didn't care about. They were too small. Those guys were tiny. Once you saw Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant and Jimmy Superfly, it was a wrap.
Didn't a lot of those wrestlers travel to Dominican Republic, like around the 70s and 80s and stuff like that?
No, not Dominican Republic. I mean, they brought Ric Flair. That's about it. I mean, Puerto Rico's, I think, a bigger hotbed for wrestling than Dominican.
Oh, yeah, I agree with Carlos Colon having...
he brought it. He paid everybody, so...
You know what I'm saying? Carlos Colon has the WWC, and right now rumors has it that they're going to be working with the Dominican Republic to bring WWC DR pretty soon. They have a show coming up. Show with John Morrison, MVP, and supposedly El Branco, #1, which he's Dominican. He wrestled back in the days. He's going to be one of the people running it, and he's going to be using the logo of WWC, and he has the permission of Carlos Colon.
Oh, that's good for any Dominican wrestlers over there. That's good. It took too long, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, to say that, the Dominican Republic doesn't have wrestling, it does. It has its own independent circuit over there. But just like territories, if you have a promotion in the South, it just stays in the South. They won't go to the North to wrestle. They won't go to the East or the West. But there is about 4 or 5 wrestling promotions in wrestling. The only one that I know of personally, which is in the capital, is Dominican Wrestling Entertainment. But just like he said, they have a small crowd because the fans want to see the big names. Mm-hmm. The big names that WWE has already promised the world through cable. Mm-hmm. So to come out and just see a regular Joe Blow, it's not as exciting. It might be for a little 8-year-old kid, but anybody over the age of 14, they want to see the big names. They want to see the American names. They want to see the attraction. So because of that, wrestling has died out. But they still have a little small thread of, off the thread of Jack Veneno's tights. That there's guys that they still want to wrestle, but it's a small venue. They can't sell out arenas like they do over here. So,
I mean, from what I know, the show that's coming up pretty soon, I think sometime later on in August, they're trying to aim for around 2,000 people. So it's going to be held, and they have MVP already, John Morrison, Galito, and a few others.
That's good.
Yeah,
that'll do it.
Yeah, hopefully stuff like that can continue so then fans in the Dominican Republic can come out and support it. And hopefully Dominican Republic becomes a hotbed for professional wrestling, because I think that's needed in wrestling, and that's also needed for Dominican Republic.
Well, the thing about wrestling, in an independent level, you're going to have to always bring 2 new names. Because they're bringing MVP, right? They'll bring them for the first show and the second show. They don't bring anybody new, the audience is going to dwindle. They're going to say, well, we already saw him. That's how it works. We already saw him. He was here last month. I saw him. Every month they're going to have to bring a new face. Every month they're going to have to keep bringing new face to kind of keep the level of excitement high. If not, it's just like, oh, we saw him already. Well, I got to go again. What's going to happen? Whatever. So, I mean, if they can do it, I don't know what their schedule is, if they're going monthly or weekly or whatnot. It's probably monthly, most likely.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to call people fans because people lose interest so fast. Mm-hmm. So somebody who goes to a wrestling show once, if you don't capture that person to be a fan, most likely they're not going to come back. Mm-hmm. And that's the problem. There's so much option, as far as entertainment, that to actually go to a wrestling show, it has to be something that you damn right love. Mm-hmm. Or someone that you know personally, and you're like, you know what, I want to support them. But in this day and age, there's more selfishness than, to give. Everybody only cares about themselves. Mm-hmm. So to go out and support someone, to say, hey, you know what, that's my friend, let me go support him, they'd rather say, well, you know what, I'd rather watch Netflix. Let me stay home and watch Netflix. Yeah.
So I could watch wrestling on TV or on YouTube.
Yeah, or I could watch it on YouTube. So, with that, it's a little hard to have a fan base because
you have to be consistent. You got to be consistent. You got to do it, on a monthly basis and so on and so forth. And earlier I said the show is in August. The show is on October 28th, and it's the World Wrestling Council in the Dominican Republic. They're both doing this specific project, and it's being led by El Branco #1, which he's a legendary wrestler in the Caribbean. And Carlito, MVP, and John Morrison are going to be on the show. But I agree with you guys. It has to be consistent. They have to be on top of this to get the awareness of wrestling in the Dominican Republic going, because it could be something special for wrestling fans, and it can also be something special for the Dominican Republic. It could be an outlet.
It's good for business, or
and it might even be good money. It might even be good opportunities for you guys, because have you guys ever had the opportunity to fly to DR to have a wrestling opportunity?
They're not paying.
We're gonna have to go over there out of our own pocket.
Passport, luggage, hotel. I'm not paying for that.
I mean, Merengue did go and he did train. He didn't wrestle. He didn't wrestle on a show, but he did train at a wrestling school over there with a couple of guys. So.
Nobody wants to go. Oh, I'm going to Dominican Republic to train.
I mean, he was
5 gyms in New York City.
He was already there. But what I'm saying is,
Dominican Republic does have some gyms. I've seen them.
They do. Yeah. No, of course.
So we're stepping up a little bit. You know?
They have.
We're getting better out there. And if I'm right, Frankie Flo was supposed to do a show in Santo Domingo at one point.
He's trying to set something up. He's been talking about that for about 2 years now. But again, is that coordination between us and them?
Yeah.
Are
they going to pay? It's flight, hotel, all those things.
Transportation, security. That's one thing people don't understand about the Dominican Republic. When you go as an outsider, you go over there as an American. America is a worldwide known name. So for those that don't know that, we have poor people, we have Hispanics and blacks, and we have injustice and all that stuff. For the common person on the outside looking in, America just looks like a pot of gold.
Yep.
Oh,
so
of course,
if
definitely.
we go over there, and
they think we come in loaded.
Exactly.
Yeah, of course. I could definitely agree with that.
So with that itself, we need security.
Every time I go to the Dominican Republic, they think I'm a drug dealer. The women, they want me to get their green card and all this. I'm like, I'm good.
All right, so
good.
I guess I'm going next week then.
Yeah.
Well, the closest I've gotten to the Dominican Republic is Columbia Presbyterian Hospital in Washington Heights. That's the closest I've ever been to DR. But just meeting you all for the first time here, so what made you all get into wrestling? Because I know me, about 187 years ago, I saw Macho Man Randy Savage and Elizabeth, back when I actually liked girls, Kervin, and I was like, wow, Miss Elizabeth is pretty, and that's what got me into it. So what got you two into taking bumps and wearing tights and throwing men over your shoulders and such?
You go first, I go first.
Well, for me, it was more about, you know, wrestling in tights with men and just, you know, rubbing each other's bodies, you know, pinning them down and kissing them on their neck.
I don't think I said, it's a different conversation we're having.
Actually, no. I mean, you know, I grew up watching, you know, WrestleMania 1 and just the excitement, the world of make-believe is what captured me. You know, how you had good guys and bad guys fighting it out, you know, old-fashioned fisticuff. Now, mind you, at the age of 5, I didn't know that was fake, but to me, it was the realest thing ever. I was like, here are grown men, and they're fighting it out. No guns, no knives, you know, even though there were a few chair shots and brass knuckles. But for me, it was the allure of the entertainment aspect of two men fighting it out and the whole debacle that happens, you know, the biggest circus on earth. So it just drew me in, and I got sucked into a wormhole, and that's it.
Now, you being Dominican, did that help you want to become a wrestler? And did you say to yourself, you know what, damn, you know what, there's no Dominican wrestlers, I'm going to become a wrestler, and I'm going to rep for my people? Actually,
as a 5-year-old kid all the way till I was 14, I didn't even know I was Dominican.
Really?
I didn't. Growing up in an all-Dominican neighborhood, no one ran around saying, yeah, we're Dominicans. I grew up with Puerto Ricans. I grew up with Cubans. I grew up with Mexicans, you know, blacks, whites, Irish, all in my block alone. And to me, we were all the same. Because we partied on Puerto Rican Day Parade. We partied on Dominican Day Parade. We partied Colombian Day Parade. We partied all the time. So for me, every celebration of culture was exactly the same. It wasn't until I was 14 that I started getting into fights with other races that I was like, what are you talking about? Like, you look just like me. You ain't Puerto Rican. I'm like, okay, and your point is? You know, oh, you ain't Cuban, you know, oh, Mexicans, we're the best. So I didn't even know I was Dominican until, you know, this whole divide of my country is better than your country. But to answer the whole, you know, did it make me want to be a wrestler? It made me want to be a wrestler despite or in fact of being Dominican, because I was like, I want to be part of that world. And then, of course, as you get older, then you start to, oh, well, you know what? There are no Dominicans. Maybe I can do something different to show everybody else, hey, you can do it too. Or we do exist. You know, we need to be a voice, and so on and so forth. So
pretty much. It's pretty much the same story. But I saw these dudes. Who you had? You got Steamboat, Asian, Santana, Mexican, Hogan, white, JYD, black, Andre Giant, French. So you saw Bruno, Italian. So I didn't think about it that way too. I said, well, yeah, I'm just going to have to eat a shitload of food because I didn't eat at all when I was a kid. I was skinny as a stick. And I was like, well, all I got to do is eat. Eat, be about 40 years old because they all look about 40. These motherfuckers look 40 years old. I said, I got to eat, and when I'm 40, I guess I could be a pro wrestler. I didn't think about it. You don't think about race. I mean, when you're a kid, you don't think about that.
Now, you know, we talked about wrestling in the Dominican Republic and Dominican fans embracing wrestling, but what about Dominican families? Like, I come from, you know, I'm Dominican descent on both sides, my father and my mother's side, and wrestling is not really big in my family. So I can only imagine if I told them one day, hey, I want to become a wrestler, they'll be like, mira muchacho, ¿y por qué? Blah, blah, blah. You know, they'll say, you know, stuff like that. Like, how do you think Dominican families embrace kids that want to become wrestlers? And I know you guys have both lived that. Like,
well, my mother was the first one that told me it was fake. Hogan was wrestling, and I said, "Oh, come check it out. Oh, it's fake," and I started crying or whatever. And to calm me down, she said, "Oh no, I'm lying, it's real," so I can stop crying. But I told them, when did I tell? It was about maybe '98. I told my mother that I wanted to become a pro wrestler. She knew I always liked since I was a kid, so she was like, "Yeah, whatever the hell you want to do." My dad, I didn't tell him because he hates wrestling. He hates that shit with a passion. He doesn't hate it with a passion, but I took him to my first match in Jersey. And I said, "Listen, I want you to come with me because I have a wrestling match." And he's like, "¿Qué es lo que tú me estás diciendo a mí?" And I'm like, "I got a wrestling match. I'm wrestling in Jersey. I want you to come and see me." He's like, "All right, I guess. Yeah, fuck it." So he came. Him, my son, and my little sister came. And that was 2006, 2007, I can't remember. But, it's like whatever. It's like a job. Like, you want to be an actor, you want to be a basketball player, they're going to think that
I'm pretty sure Dominican parents are so used to hearing I want to become a baseball player, I want to become a doctor, I want to become a lawyer. But wrestling is so minimal in the Dominican Republic that if you tell your Dominican parents, I want to become a wrestler, they look at you like you have two heads. Because wrestling is rare, it's not it's not a big thing.
Considered a joke. It's considered a joke back then. So, to a degree, it still is. People like Stone Cold and The Rock kind of changed the perception, and reality TV changed the perception. But at that time, everybody already knew it was fake. They knew about blood capsules and whatnot. So they were like, "Do you want to do fake shit?"
For the most part, as if wrestling was held to the standard and expectation of professional sports, the millions and millions of dollars that they make, then parents would be like, "Oh, you want to be a wrestler? That's great." Why? Because they know that that's the payoff.
There's money involved.
Exactly. So Dominican parents,
mucho plata.
Exactly, and that's why it ain't because wrestling we don't care about it. That's stupid or it's fake. No, it's not gonna make you rich and famous. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. If you say, "Oh, mom, I want to be a baseball player," what are they thinking? Sammy Sosa, Manny Ramirez, $1 million contracts. I want to be a basketball player, $1 million contract.
Football player,
$1 million. I want to be a wrestler. What? You want to get beat up for what? $25 a night?
Yeah.
So
and a salchichon.
So with me, my mother was like, "Why? Why do you want to be a wrestler? Why do you want to put your body through that and get beat up and slammed and kicked and punched?"
After they say it's fake.
Well, exactly.
At first, it's fake. They say, "I want to be a wrestler." Hey, you're going to get hurt.
And then
so which one is it? Is it fake or am I going to get hurt? Like, what? You're not making any sense right
now. So, my mother was like, "I'm not a fan of it." She was like,
And Dominican parents, or even parents in general, they get us into wrestling by hitting us with weapons around the house.
Exactly. And
you're not Dominican unless you got hit with a belt, a hanger, a chancleta. For those who don't know what chancleta is, a sandal.
Yep. The broomstick.
Yeah.
So,
kendo stick.
Yeah, the kendo stick.
I don't know about any Dominicans with a kendo stick.
No, it's a broomstick, bro. Kendo stick.
That is a Dominican kendo stick.
The broomstick match. They must you outside, and what building you live in, they got cages around there. You must be you're getting beat up in a cage match.
Oh man,
I don't recall ECW being aired in the Dominican Republic, where Dominican parents can come out with a kendo stick.
I was born here. I was born in the Dominican Republic. But I was born in New York City.
And then just like Rade, my brother told me at a young age, he was like, "That's fake," and I also I cried, but my brother just hated everything I liked. Everything I liked, he hated. So he made it his business to ruin everything I liked. Then one day, when I finally had my first match, I said, "Hey, you know what? I want you to come with me." And he was like, "For where?" I was like, "I want you to see me perform." I didn't tell him it was wrestling because he hated wrestling. He was like, "Oh, that's fake. That's for, pussies, blah, blah, blah." So my brother was a boxer. To him, everything was Mike Tyson boxing. So I didn't tell him I was wrestling. I just said, yo, I'm gonna perform. Because because I did theater. So my brother thought that I was
acting.
It was a theater show. So I said, nah, I'm gonna do a show. And he was like, all right, I want to come support you. So it was him and my best friend. And when he saw that it was like in a warehouse, and he was like, well, what kind of theater production is this? He walked in. So I was like, hey, go have a seat. I'm going to go get dressed. And when he walked in, my friend that was with him was like, yo, your brother was like, what is this? Why am I here? And he was like, oh, my God, don't tell me my brother's going to get beat up, thinking that it was a boxing match. Because he saw the ring. So he's like, wait a minute, I didn't know my brother knows how to box. And if my brother doesn't know how to box, he's going to get his ass beat.
So he got nervous.
Yeah, so because I never told my brother, hey, I want to box or teach me how to box.
How many matches before yours came up?
I think I was number 3.
You was 3.
Yeah.
So like the first page is like, oh, get the fuck out of here.
Exactly. He was not excited. He was not excited because he was like, this is a bunch of, homos. These guys ain't real. They can't fight.
Yep.
And then when my music came out and the fans started cheering, and so on and so forth, and I got in the ring and he became a fan. But why? Because he finally got to see someone who he personally knows,
Yeah.
And then now he is emotionally invested, and he fell in love. And he comes to our show all the time.
It's a personal connection. Like, for example, with me, I got into wrestling because my older brother got into it. And he got into it because my cousin got into it. So once you get that personal connection, that's when you want, let me get into this. My brother's into this, my cousin, my grandmother, let me get involved in it. And that's how a lot of wrestling fans become wrestling fans.
That's the thing. My family, it was all boys, all the first generation. Mm-hmm. So we're from the Hogan generation. So my parents didn't like it. My aunt is like the youngest one. She liked it. She thought it was okay. She was into like Dusty Rhodes and Jake Robertson shit. So she was young. Her first kid, she was like 14 years old. Mm-hmm. So she kind of liked it. You know what I'm saying? So she got into it. So then we were all born. It was all boys. The first round of kids was all boys, and we fucking ate that shit up.
And people to this day, more less today than they did 10, 15 years ago. What I mean is that people say less that wrestling is fake. Why are you watching wrestling? That's why we created Yup, I Like Wrestling, because when someone someone asks you, you really watch wrestling? You be like, yup, I like wrestling.
I have this shirt. I wear it all the time.
Yeah, and in Spanish is, sí, me gusta lucha. That's how you say, yup, I like wrestling in Spanish. So, people are always going to talk about wrestling this, wrestling that. And I think that's the good thing about Vince McMahon and WWE. And I know a lot of people would like to point out his flaws, but he's trying to make the brand global. He's trying to get
it is global.
No, all right, yeah, you're right about that.
Global.
It's been global.
For 30 years.
Let me correct myself. He's trying to make it even more global, and the more global he makes it, the better.
Shows in Mars now.
Hey,
you never know.
Never know.
He got the money.
With, what's his name? What's the guy that wants to go to Mars? Tesla.
Elon Musk.
Elon Musk. Yeah.
So obviously, Vince McMahon, he's made WWE a global brand. He's trying to make it more of a global brand, and I feel that it's going to improve the smaller countries like Puerto Rico even more, Dominican Republic even more, and even today's product too as well. I mean, you look at the indies now. You have All In, which is going to be an event coming up soon. You have G1 Supercard, another event that's going to come soon, which it's Ring of Honor and New Japan Pro Wrestling. You got guys like Cody Rhodes and Young Bucks and Kenny Omega who are making a living outside of the WWE, outside of the United States.
Finally.
And it's only going to help everyone in wrestling, including, wrestlers like the both of you guys.
You're absolutely right.
And
I'm super excited. I'm happy that they're finally doing something like this. There's no business. I mean, after WCW and ECW folded, it was only WWE. So they're like the Disney of wrestling. They have been the Disney of wrestling since that happened. And there's no money. There was no money. You can't make a living off of wrestling anymore. You're going to need another job. It's not like in the 80s where, in the late 70s, 80s, where you can go to Florida for 2 years, Texas 2 years, California 2 years, Oregon 2 years, Canada 2 years, New York 2 years, and back again. It's not like it died. He monopolized it, and it messed up. You know, it got worse after 2001. What they're doing is great. I'm gonna go to the show in April 16th. I'm not going to NXT.
April 6th.
April 6th. When is WrestleMania? April 7th?
April 7th. Yes.
Okay, so it's the 7th. Yeah, you're right. So I'm gonna go to that. I'm gonna give them my money. McMahon's got enough money already. I give him $10 a month for the network. I barely watch it.
He doesn't watch Raw, but he has the WWE Network.
Because I watch the old stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good subscription because for $10, you don't have to watch Raw. You can watch everything that happened from the beginning of, the introduction of WWE or WWF. And that's what I do. I don't watch none of the new stuff. I watch all of the old stuff, But I agree with him. It's really good that all these other companies are coming up, because it gives other people opportunity. Because WWE did monopolize wrestling, I mean, they were the gatekeeper. And it's almost like you're a failure if you don't make it to WWE, And that's a damn lie. But that's what he did. It's like, oh, well, we're the best. What you see on our product is the best. And it's a lie.
Cody Rhodes and Young Bucks, they sold out all in 10,000 seats in about 30 to 60 minutes.
Yep.
That's great for the wrestling business.
Fantastic.
It's amazing.
And that's going to be right now scheduled to be the biggest event outside of the WWE since the days of WCW.
Yep.
It goes to show you that in a lot of ways, wrestling is more popular today than it ever has been. Ratings may not show that, but in a lot of ways it is.
WWE ratings don't show that. You know what it is? It's you got about 20, 30 million starving fans. That's what it is. They're starving for Attitude Era, 80s era, type of wrestling. It's too cartoony. I don't watch it anymore. But he's, it's different now. He's public. He's got stockholders that he has to please. So it's good. It'll go back to the blood. It'll go back to beer. It'll go back to swearing. An adult version, not necessarily adult, but 14 and up with TV. Was it MA 14, TV 14, the rating now? You need a different type of wrestling. The wrestling that he has, I guess, is good for like 5-year-olds and 6-year-olds. It's not good for someone who's 35. I
honestly think that we will never go back to the Attitude Era, which the Attitude Era is Teddy's favorite era of all of wrestling. And, even though we're not going back to the Attitude Era, I think other companies like Ring of Honor, New Japan Pro Wrestling is going to put more pressure on WWE to bring stuff like that out slowly.
Here's the problem. The problem is Chris Benoit messed it up for the WWE. The Chris Benoit scandal, because I have my own theory about everything that happened, but the Chris Benoit scandal / situation, they can't do blood anymore. They can't curse. They can't do anything like that. That's what changed everything. But people like Cody Rhodes, New Japan, they don't have a Chris Benoit situation, so they can do blood. It's gonna be tough for the WWE. They can't go. They can't go to the Attitude Era, but New Japan and Ring of Honor will. They're gonna use blood.
I think
those guys are gonna curse. They're gonna curse. They're gonna say "fuck you" to the fans, and it's gonna be politically incorrect.
But it's going to be entertaining.
Yeah.
And that's what wrestling fans outside of WWE, that's what they're looking for. Like, I go to ROH shows, and they're amazing because the fans, they're not kids. They're 18 and over. They're cursing. They're swearing. They're drinking beer. And they're getting into it with the wrestlers. And the wrestlers can get back into it with the fans,
Everybody's having fun.
Exactly. As opposed to WWE, where you have an 8-year-old kid, how much of a heel can a heel really be?
You can't.
All he can really say is, shut up, your face is ugly. He can say little kid comebacks.
You can't even say that. I did a show here in the Bronx with ECPW, and I got into so much trouble. I called the kid autistic, and I called the little girl fat. holy shit, bro. Those people were so fucking mad at me. How can you say it? I was playing a heel. Like, oh, you can't call kids autistic. I say, but he's not. I'm just being a heel. Had to apologize to the people and everything. They were so fucking mad. That's where the world is now. Well, when it comes to kids, at least, you know, you can't be a real heel. So like they told me, oh, you know, I'll be careful. Like the promoter, Gino wasn't too mad.
Yeah.
Because he's like,
I
understand. He's like, but everything is changing. It's just, you know, for future reference, I guess we can't do stuff like that anymore. But it was for kids. Maybe I should have known better. But I didn't think I was going that far, but I guess I did. But you know, that's what get a rise out of it. There was a show. I'm sorry, I don't want to cut nobody off, but I was watching something. God, Roddy Piper was in the Garden, and the fans were chanting, "You have AIDS." You can't do that now. They called him a faggot because he was.
Oh yeah, when Roddy Piper was around, he was saying stuff. If Roddy Piper was around today, saying the stuff that he used to say,
he'd be fired.
Oh, forget it. He wouldn't even get hired. He would have no job. But that's what I'm saying. The level of sensitivity, you know, is at an all-time high. So to have the reality era, if you imagine the reality era now, Vince McMahon would lose all his stocks. He would lose all his promotion. He would lose his sponsor. So that's why he caters to what he knows is a sure thing. Just like Diablo said, it's the Disney of wrestling. Because in order for you to have kids come to your show, the parents have to bring them. So right there, you're already getting 2 tickets for one. The parent doesn't want to watch wrestling, but to please the child, he's going to take him to a wrestling show, right? So now you're already getting 2 tickets for 1 interest. Yeah. So that's what Vince McMahon did. So he PG'd it to keep it to...
You bring 4 people instead of 1.
Exactly, because you want to please the kids. Now, like ROH, New Japan Wrestling, and the indies, because that's what I do.
They care more about the sport of wrestling.
The sport of wrestling and the authenticity. The authenticity of it. So I love those shows. I love going to indie shows, you know. And it's funny because I've gotten into disputes with other wrestlers because they're like, oh, well, once you're a worker, you could never be a fan. And I'm like, well, if it wasn't for you being a fan, you would have never became a worker. You know, you can't have one without the other. So I go to wrestling shows still. I don't promote myself as a worker. I don't promote my character, but I go as a fan because I became a worker because I was a fan.
I think that's a silly notion.
So it is.
UFC, for instance, they have fighters right outside the ring. And they're sitting there and they're dressed up. There's fighters, you know, right around it. So,
but nowadays wrestlers, they don't promote their own show. Whether, you know, I'm talking about indie wrestlers, whatever company it is, Ring of Honor, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Legendary Action
Wrestling. A lot of guys
anything.
feel that it's the promoter's job. So they just, you know, I'm going to be there wrestling. I mean, but a lot of the young guys don't know how to promote. It's different now with social media and everything. You really have to and to promote a show in New York, like we were saying earlier, with all the new distractions and Netflix and everything like that, you got to go all out. To bring people to a show, oh my God, bro. You're going to need a borough president, you're going to need the mayor, you're going to need radio, you're going to need TV, you're going to need a shitload of people to help you to bring in at least 500 people to a show.
Nowadays, you could be a great wrestler, you could be great on the mic, but if you have a bad social media presence, a promoter may not want you.
Yeah.
That's today's wrestling.
That's today's wrestling, yeah.
Back in the days, it's different. Back in the days, if you were a great wrestler, you were great in the ring, you're getting booked.
Yep.
So now it's like, show me your social media. Are you on Instagram?
Even Hollywood is like that now. Even like if you want to be in movies now, it's the same thing.
Yep.
It's all about your followers now.
They want to see how many followers you have on Instagram.
Yeah.
And
the
it's
more
hard.
followers you have, they see it as dollar signs.
It's harder for wrestling because wrestling has such a bad stigma of it being fake and guys not knowing how to act. So when you market yourself as a wrestler, right off the back, you kind of almost lose respect from other artists, you know, guys that or females that are singers, actors, poets, writers, you know, they don't see you as equal, you know. So it's hard when you're a wrestler and you're saying, well, come see my show, to someone who's not a fan of wrestling. And that is where I think personal connection plays a big part. That a lot of wrestlers, they don't have the personality or the charisma to actually have human connection with someone that's not a fan of wrestling.
Not everybody has charisma. Some people have athletic ability, they don't have charisma. Some people have charisma, no athletic ability. So, you know, I think it sucks to be a promoter right now.
It sucks to be a promoter because you're trying
the worst time to be a promoter.
You're trying to promote unknown faces, unknown talent, and you're trying to sell that to people who have no interest in your product. And of course, it's so like watered down because, like I was telling you before, there's wrestling promotions everywhere. It's not just like one wrestling promotion in Manhattan, one wrestling promotion
there's like 5 in New York.
Well, there's 5 in Manhattan. There's like 5 in
there's like 5 in every borough now.
There's 5 exactly.
Yeah, it's
oversaturated. It's oversaturated. So now, if the area you come from only cares about hip hop, well, how are you gonna have a connection with anybody who doesn't want to give you the time of day because you're a wrestler? You see what I'm saying? So it's so hard now to try to get people to support you in what you do, you know? And, you know, that's why they say that, you know, people with money, they're assholes. But they don't understand is that when you're at the bottom trying to come up, asking for help, everybody want to shit on you. And then when you are at the top, they expect the handout. And you're like, no, you didn't support me when I was at the bottom. Now I'm at the top. I got here without you. F you. And, oh, he's an asshole. Why? Because he's not giving you a handout when you went.
Everybody
exactly. So
karma's real. You know, back in the days, you had one wrestler every borough or every, you know, radius of 25 blocks to 50 blocks. Now you literally have one. Like I said earlier, you have, you know, 5 wrestling promotions in every borough in New York City.
Yeah, it's too many.
So it's like, yeah, wrestling has grown, but at the same time, like Rade Ravello was saying, it's getting oversaturated. You know, that's the thing with today's wrestling.
Me, Rade, Cha Charlie, and Merengue are from the same neighborhood.
Basically.
And you guys are all Dominican, and you guys are all wrestlers, and you guys all wrestle for Legendary Action Wrestling.
From the same neighborhood, Washington Heights.
And you guys have a show on August 25th in Brooklyn, New York, Bushwick, Brooklyn.
Trying to branch out, you know?
And the show is at Mayday Community Center, 176 St. Nicholas, Brooklyn, New York, 11237 is the area code. You can get your tickets at tickery.com or at the door, $20 general admission.
Yeah, please come, please.
Don't
be shy.
Support your neighborhood wrestler.
Now I've been on several different Legendary Action Wrestling shows, and to me they're all great. I feel they're on the rise. They do a lot of great stuff. They have a lot of great wrestlers. And I advise everyone listening in to actually attend their show, you know, and it goes back to today's wrestling, how, you know, indie wrestling is on the rise. And you guys are doing a great job with Legendary Action Wrestling.
Yeah, hopefully 2019 will bring better luck for us.
You know, I'm pretty sure it will. Obviously, everyone is a critique of wrestling, even if you're a fan or not. What are some of the things that you guys like in wrestling today?
Well, to be honest, I don't watch Raw or SmackDown anymore. I just don't find it entertaining. But I did see, I think it was on YouTube last night, the trailer for Slammiversary. And that looked like a really good show. I'm going to see if I can catch it this week if I'm not.
Which is what, Impact Wrestling, correct?
Impact.
Yeah, that's something we didn't even talk about, Impact Wrestling.
That show looked really, really good. From what I've seen, you know, like the matches that they had, it looked way better than anything WWE's done or years, the past couple of years. So I mean, I'm a big fan of Austin Aries' work, and they made him a champion. That's a guy that's well deserving. I thought he should have been champion years ago. The WWE lost out on him, but they look like they're on the rise, and they're also working with Ring of Honor. They're working with Ring of Honor and New Japan. I think Austin Aries is going to be in All In, and he performs. He's on Impact, and he performs on Ring of Honor.
Impact Wrestling is doing a lot of great things. Like I watch their episodes religiously for like the past 2 years, 3 years, and they've done a lot of great stuff.
It's
you know,
getting better.
so yeah,
It
it's getting
really,
a lot
really
better. What about you, Aramis?
Well, the same thing with Impact. I mean, we barely even talked about Impact because, you know, they're not in the forefront, you know, as far as, you know, a marketable or promotion. But they're doing a lot of good things. And even though people thought that they were going to die out, you know, when Sting left and, you know, when Jay Lethal left and so on and so forth, they hung on. Mm-hmm. Like they were like
15 years.
They were there. And now you see them now they're picking it up and they're doing stuff to bring the fans back. So I enjoy that.
Working with Ring of Honor and New Japan, bro, if all three of them work together, you know, WWE's got some problems.
Exactly.
They got big time problems. The guys to watch, I think everybody's pretty good on there. LAX, Homicide is there.
Sammy Callahan.
Is he there?
Yeah, he's there. Yeah, Sammy Callahan is in Impact Wrestling. He's doing a great job.
I think they're working with Lucha. Well, they did a show too.
He actually has an angle right now with Pentagon.
Whatchamacallit? You're right. I did see that the other day. I think last WrestleMania. Where was the last WrestleMania at?
Last WrestleMania was at New Orleans.
Okay, they did a show, Impact versus Lucha Underground.
Yep, that's where Johnny Mundo faced Johnny Impact.
Wow, yeah.
How's that?
Yeah.
He wrestled himself?
It's just a joke. It's John Morrison facing
because he wrestled for both promotions.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah,
in Lucha Underground, he's Johnny Mundo.
Yeah.
And in Impact, John Morrison is Johnny Impact. So
I think it looks like all these guys are working together.
Kevin Matthews is another wrestler that I really like, and he's half Dominican, believe it or not. He's wrestled with Falaba, and they're both indie wrestlers who've done a lot of great stuff with WrestlePro. Yeah, they're in Impact right now.
Still?
Yes, and they're doing a great job, both of them.
Awesome.
Yeah, Falaba, I trained with him when I first started. Yeah, he gave me a couple of bruises. Yeah, so he's good. He's very humble, very
nice guy, man.
Very light on his feet. He's amazing. So I was extremely happy to be able to see someone that I personally trained with and wrestled to have made it to where he is right now. So, much respect to Falaba.
And you also have women in Impact Wrestling doing some great things that I like. Tessa Blanchard, Kira Hogan, that's just to name two of them. They actually signed a couple of more women as well, so they're building up that division. And I think Impact Wrestling is going to be talked about even more as days,
I think...
you got Eddie Edwards is still in Impact Wrestling. Yep. I think he's a great wrestler.
Yeah, he's very good.
You're going to hear more and more wrestling fans talking about Impact Wrestling.
After All In, everything's going to change. All In's going to be on the Fight Network. They're going to stream it through there.
I heard it's going to be on WGN. I'm not too really sure. We have to do
I know. I saw Fight Network. Fight Network, I think they're going to stream it live.
Either way, we're all going to be able to watch it somehow, somewhere, because
you can watch it.
It's not going to go unnoticed. That's for sure. It's not going to go unnoticed.
That's great, because I can't go to Chicago.
But also to add to the women's division, as what I like from WWE is that the fact that they're now letting the women be full-time competitors as opposed to managers and the divas, and now I want to say thank to Triple H for opening his eyes and seeing, wow, these women are actually getting better and better, and they're taking wrestling just as serious as the men are, and allowing them the platform to do it. I mean, they're gonna have an all-female
pay-per-view.
Impact did that first.
They did it first, but what I'm saying is, but who's on the bigger scale? Obviously, WWE.
It's crazy how WWE is the bigger scale, but they're like 10 years behind.
Yeah, but that's what it takes. It takes someone to steal someone else's idea. Come on. that has been going on forever.
With them.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But that's WWE has the platform to be able to do things where it's like, oh, we're the first. And it's like, no, you're not the first. Almost everything you've done has been stolen from someone else.
Like No Way Jose stole Adam Rose's gimmick.
Adam Rose's gimmick.
And
exactly.
Carlito's gimmick.
And Carlito's gimmick. He's a mixture of both, which is why I'm not too thrilled with No Way Jose or the WWE product, because it's a dictatorship. It's like you don't give them any freedom anymore. I think No Way Jose could have picked a better name if they left him to himself.
He did have a better name and a better gimmick, but they want to do this bullshit.
But Vince McMahon wants to have absolute control over every copyright and so on and so forth and yada, 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 which now waters down the product to someone who's a diehard fan who knows it from the independent level, from the bottom up, and say, man, this guy is really good, but they're using him really shitty. You know,
and you lose interest.
Like
I did,
because like here we with the Shield. When they came out, I was like, okay, what are they rehashing? Every other stable before them, and I was like, all right, cool. The Shield, they might be doing something good. They broke them up too fast, and then what happened? They brought them back, and then they broke them up again. That idiocy is like you're not letting the characters develop enough to be able to withstand themselves. So now what happened to Dean Ambrose?
Well, he's hurt, right?
He's hurt. He's supposed to be coming back soon.
You know, Seth Rollins, they just keep putting him back and forth, trying to keep him relevant. But the main focus is Roman Reigns, the guy who has the least amount of support. Is the one that they're pushing the most.
Makes no sense.
It makes no sense, you know? So, you know, little stuff like that makes me not want to watch WWE. But the fact that they are now pushing women, and there's a lot of women in the independent circuit that damn right deserve to be on that stage, that's one thing that I do like.
And speaking of the women like Charlotte Flair, Alexa Bliss, Nia Jax, Naomi, Becky Lynch, Sasha Banks, Bayley, I think they're all doing a great job. They all did a thing to bring back women's wrestling and put it where it is today. Natalia's another one. So there's a lot of great female wrestlers in the WWE, and hopefully that...
There's a lot of great wrestlers, period. They have the best wrestlers. The wrestlers is not the problem with the company. They have the best wrestlers there. They have the best trainers. They got the best facility. They have the shittiest writers on God's green earth. That's what they have.
You know, with the writers is because they have, I believe, writers that, one, never studied wrestling, don't know the art of storytelling, and are probably way too young to know what the hell they're doing. If they would have wrestlers that are in their writers in their 40s and 50s, you know, that have been writing for 20, 30 years.
Which they do, but they don't listen to them.
They don't listen to them.
Michael Hayes is there, Dutch Mantel is
there,
Jerry Lawler's there. They don't listen to them.
And that's the problem, that WWE has a lot of yes man. Yes, whatever you want, McMahon. Yes, yes, Mr. Vince. Yes, yes. And as soon as
check is really good, that's why.
That's why. But as soon as you say, hey, you know what, I think we should go in this direction, the only person that can question it is Triple H. But Triple H is also wearing too many hats, because now he's trying to recruit guys from the indies. He's trying to make sure that he puts a product that people over the age of 14 want to be interested in, you know, while struggling with Vince McMahon. Oh, no, I don't think we should go this way, Vince. Hey, it's my company. This is what I want.
I guess so.
And it's like...
He got a point.
And it's like, okay, you know.
So, whatever the fuck you want.
Like Ray said, the talent is amazing. You could pretty much say that they have the best of the best. But like I was telling you before the podcast, entertainment-wise, they don't know how to entertain. All they're doing is just gymnastics. A lot of gymnastics. Where's the personality? Where's the charisma?
It should be called like the World Wrestling Show.
It is.
Some people say WWE killed the entertainment, and some people say WWE helped the entertainment. So there's people who are 50-50 on that.
I mean,
Depending
look
on
at the
who
ratings
depending
compared.
on who you're asking in what age frame.
Yeah.
You ask anybody over the age of 18 as entertainment, you know, they'll be like, you know, yeah, I guess I can watch it. But how entertaining is it when you watch two people going at each other, you know, promoing? You can tell whether the promo is authentic or is forced. You know?
I agree with that.
That's what I'm saying. That's entertainment. Hey, are you believing what I'm saying to you? Do you believe this, or you just like, you know what? Okay,
Nope.
I remember this line because this is what's in the script. But if it's not internalized, it doesn't come from your soul, then it's not. It's pointless.
I don't
And
care.
that's what they do. That all they do is just throwing words that don't mean nothing. That's why The Rock, Stone Cold, you know, they were the best promo guys.
But they had experience.
They had experience.
They had experience
So
to be that guy.
that's why, as far that entertainment-wise, that acting,
Okay.
it's not there. It's so generic and so false. So you know, it's so
I have
again to an 8-year-old, it's reality because he can't tell the difference. To an 18-year-old, you can tell when someone's bullshitting you. You can see it in someone's face.
I'm surprised that USA they renewed their contract for 5 years.
Yeah.
Because the ratings is really bad.
That's the thing. It's bad in the terms of wrestling, but in the terms of USA Network, it's still up there.
It's
It's one of the
for
best.
the network itself is probably the highest rating show.
You know, one of the main reasons why.
For the network.
One of the main reasons why USA Network is not necessarily still around, but why they are still strong as they are, is because of the WWE. And them bringing SmackDown in, Monday Night Raw.
But
you know,
SmackDown's going to Fox now.
So.
USA's only staying. I guess. I mean, I don't fucking watch USA. I don't watch that one show at USA, so I wouldn't know. But I guess good for them. You know.
So, August 25th, 2018, it's a Saturday. Legendary Action Wrestling presents Battle in Bushwick, Mayday Community Center, 176 St. Nicholas Avenue, Brooklyn, New York. 11237 is the zip code. Come out to see wrestlers Dominican Diablo, Rade Ravello, and Aramis LaPaz wrestle that night. Guys, any last thoughts?
No, this was fun. It was entertaining. I was glad to be here. You heard my man Kerv. Come check out the show. It's going to be a lot of fun. You can take pictures with me, and if you're pretty, I'll take your phone number. I'm just kidding.
That's Dominican Diablo for you, always.
I'm just kidding.
No, I mean, you know, this was a pleasure being here and being on this podcast and being able to share our thoughts and our opinion based on wrestling and being Dominican and, you know, meeting a fellow 25% Dominican.
And Teddy, that's right, man.
I didn't know where that came from. I was like 25%. I'm like, okay, someone got lost somewhere, but fuck it, you know, he's one of us, and we're glad.
Bruce Lee was 25% German, so.
Oh, I thought he was gonna say he was 25% Dominican too. I was about to say.
There's pictures of him drinking Presidente beer, though.
Oh, you know.
can Google that.
And we did today's episode with no socks to honor the Dominican
Yes.
Takeover. No socks. We wore no socks.
It looks
today.
like no socks, but I do have
We have no
Gotta-
socks.
Gotta stay heritage pride, baby.
Teddy, is your Uber here, Teddy?
I haven't checked. This has been the most fun I've had sober. Thank you, gentlemen, for putting me through this. Thank you so much. I'm not taking an Uber, but I do want to take the D train home, Kervin.
Then I will take the 4.
Yeah, too much info.
Yeah.
Teddy, I told you before the show started where we weren't going to give you any disclaimers. You're edging the line with that, but...
Well, in that case, Kervin, take us home.
All right, guys, this was the Dominican Takeover episode 34 of the Yep, I Like Wrestling podcast. My name is Kervin, a.k.a. Katie Swagger. I am the co-founder of Yep, I Like Wrestling, and I was joined today by...
The greatest general manager in Yep, I Like Wrestling history.
We were also joined by...
Dominican Diablo, Rade Ravello. Durísimo.
And last but not least...
The Wolf of Wrestling, Aramis LaPaz, Legendary Action Wrestling.
And this is the Dominican Takeover, Yup, I Like Wrestling, episode 34. Definitely find us on the internet, all social media platforms at Yup ILW. Thank you for listening.
Oh, come on, Dominican Diablo. Come on, do it. Do it. Hey.
Durísimo.
There you go. That's Dominican for you.